Hey, you're the first one on. That's unique. Okay, sorry about that. Hey, Sam. Okay, so let's see how many people we have on. We don't have very many people on, I guess. Only 12. But it's climbing with a rocket. Sadie, good afternoon. Or morning for me. Bob, good to see you. Plastodon, hey Don, good to see you. I'm assuming it's Don. Who else? Bruce, good to see you. Martin, Martian Murray, sorry, Murray is here. My son-in-law's name is Martin, so that's why I always read that as Martin. So we're going to talk about soloing in three different. You know what? I'm going to duplicate this. New. What is that? Is that solo? Oh, okay. Duh. All right. I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to. I'll be editing this, but nothing's changed there. And so this is basically an A minor to a D9 kind of progression. A minor 7. So it would be a Dorian. Basically because you could say, well, why isn't it D Mixolydian? And because ultimately I think if you imagine the end of the song finally coming after a 2-hour jam, it would end on the A minor. So, and it's the first chord. So a lot of times, this isn't always true, but I'd say 80% of the time, let's see, depends now. Because when I think about how often at church we don't end on the 1 chord, we almost always end on the 4 chord, which is interesting. Used to be you would end on the 1 chord, but now the new trend is to kind of end on the 4 chord. It sounds less buttony, and by button it means putting a button on a song. And that can be, finishing out a song. Versions of the ending of songs, of buttons, change over time, and certain things that sounded hip today, tomorrow will sound dated. So a lot of times that changes. But general rule early on, you listen to maybe Beatles songs or jazz tunes or whatever, you are going to blues songs, probably the first chord and the last chord will be the same. And the very first chord of the song and the very last chord of the song. Not the last chord of the progression, because in a blues progression, the last chord of the progression in blues is usually the 5 chord. And it would never end there. You might if you wanted to mess with your audience, but you would generally want to go to the 1 chord. So the general rule here is the first chord and the last chord of a song is going to kind of give you a good indicator of what the key is likely. And so in this case, when we have A minor to D7, okay, and I'm going to write these out. Sorry, I need to create. I wasn't sure. I upgraded my computer, and I wasn't sure if OBS was going to work with it. So, all right. So here is. I should write the name of the scale. Okay, that's an A. It's an A Dorian scale. All right, we have 3 minor scales, and we're gonna maybe we're gonna maybe do jams in all 3. Okay, so basically, if you were the chords were A minor to D7, that would be an A Dorian thing. A Dorian. If it was A minor to D minor, okay. That would be a pure A minor, or you could call it A Aeolian. And if it was like an A minor to E7, you might do a harmonic minor. Now, if it was A minor 7 to E7. That would maybe allow you to use the G, but you might not want to hit the G sharp over the A minor 7. But when I'll program it so it's just a pure A minor to a pure E7 or even E major. Kind of a Spanish sounding, also pop is very common. Hey Holly, good to see you again. Missed you. Really did. We all missed you. That's all. I don't know if you watched last. Hey Pamela. Or no, what is Panache? Panache. Watching from Zimbabwe. Well, what time is it there? It's probably got to be close. Let's see. Paris. Alex is in Paris right now with his wife technically on their delayed honeymoon. My son Alex. Let's see, they're like in Paris. They're 8 hours ahead. Zimbabwe is a little further. Zimbabwe is like directly below Egypt, so that would probably be 2 more time zones. So you're probably 10 hours ahead of me. So what's happening 10 hours from now? So I'm guessing it's probably 7 p.m. where you are. That's just a geographic guess. Anyway, but welcome. I don't think we've ever had anybody from Zimbabwe before. So, I'm gonna program little progressions using those chords so that we can kind of practice the different scales. Now what I want to do though is kind of show you a different way to kind of think about soloing. All right, we're talking about soloing, and again, I got a Dorian vibe here, with the A minor chord. Let me write this in here too. Right now we're doing. Basically it's A minor 7 and then I'm going to, I think, a D9. Like that. All right. And I do have a meeting later today, but not, I think, at noon, so we're good. I'm going to need to do some prep work for the meeting, a Zoom meeting. And that's this progression here. A minor 7. You can even do that. You can even just do A minor 7 this way. Just the top 4 strings at the 5th fret, and then move the bottom note down 1 fret. Simple as that, okay? Right? That, let's see, should I write? Well, I can just do that here. But basically, XX55555 would be kind of an A minor 7 chord. It is an A minor 7 chord. And D9, this one would not have a root. Oops. 4555. That one does not have a root. Oh, AJ's in the house. Hey, Joseph, you're in the house. Let's see. Anybody else come on? Nope. Okay. So, that's how subtle the difference is, really, between those 2 chords. If I did a more D7 thing, I would take that E down to the D. But because I'm saying it's a D9 chord, the similarity between a D9 and an A minor 7 chord, A minor 7 is A, C, E, G, and D minor 7 is D, F sharp, A, C, A, C, E. So it actually, you could think of a D9 chord as being an A minor triad superimposed on top of a D major triad. And that, my friends, is my transition to a different way to think about these. Okay, so if we were to look at the chords made, the triads you can make in A Dorian. All right, we have A minor, we have B minor, we have C major, we have D major, we have E minor, we have F sharp diminished, and we have G major. Okay, so what you can do is you can start to visualize all of these triads up and down the fretboard. So like if we were to play those triads right here on the top 3 strings, start at the 5th fret. You got top 3 strings like this, just bar. That's A minor. Slide that up 2 frets, we have B minor. Okay? Technically, both of those shapes, both of those tones in those chords should work over both of these chords, work throughout the progression, work in anything Dorian. The next triad we have is C major triad. So if we go 9, 8, 8. Okay, little C triad, isn't it cute? And then slide that up 2 frets, we get D major. So we have 5, 5, 5, like all the prefixes on all the TV shows. 7, 7, 7. So not Beelzebub. Then we have 9, 8, 8. And then we have 11, 10, 10. And so those are the first three triads of the A Dorian. And then if we want, we go E minor right there. 12, 12, 12. So check this out. I can just use those triad shapes to kind of come up with some solo ideas. You can see them across the strings this way, but you can also see the notes like, oh wait, you can see the notes line up here. You can kind of see things. It will open up the fretboard to you a little bit more if you know the triads that are associated with the key you're playing in. All right? Does this make sense? Hey, Kevin, what's going on? Stamos! All right, so let me jam on this. Hold on. Just use nose shapes. Combine two of them, you get these little. So I'm just combining the B minor with the C major. You could do I guess you could do the B minor with the D major. Get some redundancy. Again, you wouldn't want to necessarily compose a solo of just that. So I can sit here and go, do a little bit of A minor, A blues, and then bring in the triad kind of thing. And then I can play triad. You can play triads anywhere on the fretboard. You can find these triads. You can take this cute little C triad right here, and then find the next triad down, and the next triad down, and the next triad down. So you've got all of those. If you know your fretboard well enough, and you know chord theory, the chords. So the next shape up after the E minor, which is all 12, you can either go down to the first fret and play 2, 1, 2, which looks like a D7 chord, but that's a little F sharp diminished. We have the F sharp, we have the A, and the C natural. And then the last chord would be a G triad. So the same shape we used for the C and the D triad would be for the G triad, which is 4, 3, 3. And that sounds great, that A minor to. Now I'm going G to F, D, sorry. So what I'm visualizing there is I'm visualizing just something as simple as the A minor triad to the G triad over the A minor chord, and then the G triad to the D triad, this shape, this version of a triad, over the D chord, over the D7 chord. So, oh, Sam, what's going on? I'll be leaving in 20 minutes to tune into ESPN. My nephew will be competing in the national championship in lacrosse. Nice. He plays at Maryland. My cousin, she's the coach. I can never remember what sport it is. She's won national championships at Wake Forest. it's women's field hockey, maybe. I think, yeah, it's field. That seems right. Averill, Jennifer Averill. That's my cousin. You can even see the sixth. All those kind of things. You can even visualize, like, you can do these chord tones. You got the A, kind of an A minor. It's an A and a C, implies A minor. B and D implies D minor. These are tenths. So an eighth would be an octave, and you go 2 more notes up and you get a tenth. You use it all the time. I used it in Home to Mama for Justin Bieber. So I went like a tenth to a ninth to a tenth, 10 ninth to a ninth. Interesting, kind of a clever little hook, if I may say so myself. What are some projects I'm working on? I can't talk about some of them because most of my session work lately has been games. And to be honest, what was the game I worked on? It was called something for a long time. And then when it finally came out, I reached out to the composer. I went, did I work on that? He said, yeah, it was called so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, I worked a lot on that. It was Eternal Strands or something. And it was called, I can't even remember what it was called before, but the games that I am working on Call of Duty. As far as artists go, so I don't know if I'm allowed to say I'm working on Call of Duty. So I didn't say that. But anyway. There's so many of those, COD games, like there's the phone games, there's the big games, everything like that. So I've worked on it in the past. Yeah, I can go past tense on it. Yeah. I'm trying to think of artists. Artist-wise, that kind of thing is not really. I'm not doing much with it. I haven't worked with Justin in a long time, since 2020. I mean, I worked with Skrillex because of that, but that was with through Skrillex with Young Lean, and that record came out in 21, I think. So it's been a while. I'm actually, and then TV shows, like a lot of that stuff right now, the TV shows, the production company I was working for that produced shows got bought by Lionsgate, and they moved their offices, I think, to Nashville. So all that work has gone away, which is a bummer. But probably the thing, I'm actually got a session tomorrow for it. If you listen to the podcast at all, if you are a podcast person, there's a podcast that I write music for and play guitar on for. It's called The Exorcist Files, and it's kind of fascinating, actually. I'm a skeptic. I'm a Christian, but I also, I didn't grow up in the Catholic Church or anything like that, and so it's kind of cool because you got a Catholic priest who's sharing all of his exorcisms that he's done through the years. Thus the name of the show, The Exorcist Files. And kind of a Protestant skeptic who interprets, if he says something that's very Catholic terminology, he interprets it, and he's kind of a skeptic, and it's interesting. And they asked the question, I think it was on like the 3rd or 4th episode of the first season, like, what did you think of the movie The Exorcist? And it was his answer was fascinating, and a lot of what he says makes a lot of sense. So it's and I get to write a lot of scary music, which is a lot of fun. Scary music is the funnest music to write, and to play on it and to try to create, weird sounds and things like that. It's always fun. And the podcast is acted out. So once they just start to describe a thing, then eventually it goes to the actors, and the actors are acting it out. And it's funny because in the first season they had to apologize. Like we apologized to the wedding that was going on downstairs at the church, because at that point they were recording at Hollywood Presbyterian Church when they were just getting started. And then it became like the #1 podcast among religion and spirituality. And they had like 1 million subscribers or something like that. So it's done very well. And they got a bunch of money to do a second season. So yeah, I've been working on that, which is eminently fun. And sadly, with podcasts, there's no back end for royalties. So we're getting all our money up front and basically keeping the rights to everything we create. But everything we create is pretty much for the podcast. So it's not like we can really reuse it again. You guys are redacting a lot of... Oh, you watched the service on Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, Alex wasn't there. He's out of town. I was having to run Ableton, so I was a little bit scared up there. On the second service at 11 o'clock, Manny Pacquiao was sitting right in front of me. Probably most of you don't know who Manny Pacquiao is, but he was sitting right in front of me. Yeah. Oh, okay, Coach Field Hockey. Is she still doing it? Jennifer Averill, Averill, and they grew up in Chicago. Kind of lived all over, but we would see them. You know, it's funny. Some cousins are super duper close, you know, and some aren't. And I'm never really super close with any of my cousins because we never lived in the same town. Normally with family, you know, you might all live in the same area, and the cousins on my mom's side lived in Ohio and Michigan, and the cousins on my dad's side lived in Chicago and eventually California. And we moved a lot. So we lived in Maryland and Pennsylvania, but also Indiana most of the time. So when we were in Indiana, we saw them. When we were in DC, we weren't going to see our cousins. But yeah, a bummer. My cousins are pretty cool. Oh yeah, you subscribe espresso martini. That's espresso martini sounds really good. Put a little vodka in this maybe. I had some Irish coffee the other day. I was like, okay, I guess. I kind of like coffee, so I kind of hate messing with it. Okay, so let me write out the names of all the chords here. Do I add it to this? I can just add it to this. No, I'll create a new text thing. Where's text? Text. Where are you? There you are, at the bottom. Okay. And it's going to be giant until okay. So we had for the triads in the key of A Dorian, we have A minor, B minor, C, D. We had E minor, F sharp diminished, and G. All right, and I'll make this smaller and I'll put it down here where you can see it. All right, and just one way to play these shapes is here's A minor, 5/5/5, top 3 strings, then 7/7/7, then so that's B minor, and then C, and the top note is your root. Then we have 9/8/8, 11/10/10, so that's C and D, and then we have E minor here, and we can go 14, 13, 14, or if you're on acoustic, you can go 2/1/2. I always tilt my head when I do this. And then the G triad, the last triad, we could play here or up here, and that would be 4/3/3. And like I said, it sounds kind of cool to go on this. I could go on the D7, I could go G major to the F diminished one. So I'm seeing it in two ways. Let's take the A minor to G. I'm seeing it like this. Okay, I'm seeing the little A minor shape. And then with those two triads are 3 notes, two triads, two triads, we have 6 notes. So with those 6 notes, 6 different notes, because they're neighboring triads. If I'd done A minor and C, we would have had a total of 4 different notes. But with the A minor and G right next to each other, we technically have 6 different notes here. So I've kind of created a little mini scale, like a 6-note scale, and that will work. And then here, I could do another mini scale, adding up the notes in the F sharp diminished and the G major. However you want to play it. But some of it you can do. You can do the notes in order, and that could sound cool. I go B. And again, these sound a little bit more like exercises right now. You want ultimately when you're soloing to kind of say something. You don't want to just go A, G, Q, V, W, U, A, B, G, you know, random letters. Like that you wouldn't be having a conversation. You want to actually say something. But I'm still visualizing those. I can see those triads all over the fretboard. Here's a G, A minor, you can see the little D triad there to the C triad. Combine those two. Or I can play them. You can even do. You want to just kind of practice something, and then you could work on how would you pick something like that, you know? But again, that sounds like an exercise, but it's an exercise that's designed to help you unlock your fretboard. Just kind of start to visualize more ideas. Ultimately, what you want to do when you're soloing is you want to hear it here first. You want to have the idea up here and translate it to the guitar. You want to sing a melody in your head, and then you want to kind of transfer it to the guitar. That's kind of the ultimate, you know, like George Benson. You can start playing what you hear. I've always said, you know, you'll hear a song on the radio that maybe last time you heard it was 60 years ago when you were 5. And yet you'll go, wow, that sounds familiar. You'll recognize, your brain remembers all these melodies. And so I think you have you know, in your head, you have basically an unlimited palette of melodies and ideas. It's just a matter of moving those from your head to your hands. And you need tools in your hands to be able to play those. It's like I can envision hammering a nail into a piece of wood, but if I only have a screwdriver, I'm not going to be very successful. So you still have to have the tools. All right, that was a weird analogy. Hey, Zuhair, Reza, what's going on? All right. Exactly. I could, we haven't really ever talked about that because I feel like some of that is a little bit higher, like, for example, doing, right, where you harmonize chords, you know. and that, you know, that record the jazz chord melodies, where you take the melody and you put, you know, such a great melody. It's just like, what the heck? It's one of the best melodies ever. It's a great jazz standard too. It's a Disney song that became a jazz standard. Oh, hey Basil, what's going on? What's that mattress amp? That's a Clubman 35. I got that back in the 80s, 90s, early 90s. It's not hooked up. It's loud as crazy. If I played it in here, everything would rattle and fall off the walls. There's a 2-rock next to it. I kind of wanted to be that session guy that would show up with 10 heads and, you know, multiple cabinets and stuff, and that never ever happened. Those guys had cartridge companies. I swear, the cartridge guys make more money than the session guys. You know, they would drop the gear off, set it up and everything, so the session guy would show up and just plug in and play. And then they would have another rig they'd be setting up at the next studio. And then they would get up. I wanted to be that guy. That's what the session scene was like when I moved here in '83. It's not at all like that anymore. So I'm not using a real amp now. I hardly ever use real amps. So soon someday. That's okay. That's a good one to have in your head, Holly. I'm sorry, but that's just a great. I could do a. Forget that chord right there. I need to work it out. See if I can work it out where I can move. Sorry, getting a text. I gotta see it real quick. All right. Like I said, Alex and his wife are in Paris right now. Yeah, so we haven't really talked about chord melodies, but yeah, that's it's definitely a way to harmonize a melody, okay? Dang it, who made the point? Basil? So for example, knowing these shapes here, if I had a melody, it was like, right? I could technically go, and that sounds really cool. I could even maybe harmonize even a little more than, you know, like, or I could, yeah, just use 6. And that would totally work over this. Now I'm just playing through the triads where the melody kind of shows up in those. It's a little, yeah. I mean, there's something to that. I could do the melody here too. I could do, the melody could be, you know, and you could end up doing like, to me, those, and I'm just doing, now I'm doing diads. I'm doing 2 notes of those triads. You know, I'm playing, instead of 5, 5, 5, I'm just playing 5, 5, and then I'm playing, coming back to the upper 5. Those are serious sound, you know, serious exercises. But it almost makes it, you know, it gives you some more interesting things to do rather than, you know, and that's fine. All this is good. Just playing Dorian. Using them as a little idea, not just playing for, you know, 10 minutes using those. And then you go back in and or the other thing you can do is, like the Larry Carlton would often do, is like he would find triads within these triads here. He would find triads that have an interesting sound over the chord. So if we just stay over the A minor, I'm going to get rid of the D minor or the D7 chord. It's just going to be an A minor. You can go through all the triads and see. Obviously, A minor triad's going to sound good. The B minor triad sounds cool, but it wants to resolve down to the A minor. The C obviously sounds really good. Because 2 of the notes in the C triad are also in the A minor triad, the C and the E. D major triad. Again, sounds like something that wants to resolve. And so maybe you might take the D major triad down to the C major triad. And you can also use those 2 shapes to create a little mini scale. You might naturally go to an A minor scale here, or A minor pentatonic, but if you, I love that, the rub of that G and the F sharp. That sounds really good. But then the E minor triad just sounds magical over the. Because you've got the 5th, which is E, and then you've got the G, which on the E minor, which is the 7th of the A minor, and then you got the B, which is that beautiful 2nd. So that E minor. And you can even play E minor pentatonic over the A minor, and it's kind of a Pat Metheny approach where you find a pentatonic shape. Yeah, well, that's high praise. Frank Zappa's crazy good. But it's just like the shapes that you're already familiar with, the A minor, the minor pentatonic. You just play it in a different key than the chord, and it just sounds. And you can always go to the C note. But you kind of create a little bit more mystery, a little bit more interest in that. Okay, so again, this is basically, like I said, a D Dorian jam. I'm sorry, A Dorian jam, my bad. Okay. Okay. Now, if I take that second chord and make it a D minor 7, all right, so if I stretch this out and I find that, where's that F sharp? Where's that F sharp? Right there. It's right on top. Check this out. Sounds weird right now, doesn't it? But that's actually a pure A minor jam. So A minor, and so you could call it a natural minor. You could call it turn on reactions to express yourself with hand gestures. That's weird. I just got a notification. Like I said, I updated my. Oh, weird. I can. What's that? Oh, it blurred the background. Well, that's kind of cool, right? You like that? Or is that weird? See your light? That's cool also. Oh, I got reactions I can do. Yeah. That's funny. Oh my gosh. Background. Oh, no, we don't want that. What the heck? Oh my gosh. Where's Tom? Oh my gosh. That's funny. Oh, I can add photos. Okay, now how do I get rid of this? Get rid of background. All right, reactions. And then we got, where's that? There we go. See, so I can do. All right. It's so silly. Oh, do you hate the blur? Okay, now that you've heard the A minor, pure A minor. Okay, let me show you what those are. So, can I duplicate this? Nope, that's not what I want to do. This, on this, can I duplicate? No, okay. I think I can duplicate it here. Let me duplicate. It just sounds so sad compared to the Dorian. Okay, we're just gonna have to create a new one. All right. So, now, so A minor, or if you want, it's gonna be giant. I'll make it smaller in a second. Hold on. We could call it Aeolian, which is the Greek term. That would just be the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All right, and then we guess we go full octave, get A, and then this progression here is A minor 7. To D minor 7. Okay. So that's our next progression. Like that. Get a little bigger so it lines up with the other one. And then these are the chords that go with this one. So I probably should move this up, put these under here. All right. Very similar. The chords that work on this be A minor, and then B diminished, C, D, or D minor, E minor, F, G. So basically the chords in the key of C. But it almost behooves us to kind of get used to the D minor to C triad. And that B sounds Sounds kind of nice, kind of jazzy over the D minor. Sounds great over the A minor. See that? And that's part of the thing is when you're messing around, you want to fish for these things. And we've done this before when we were talking about soloing and blues and things like that. We were talking about how you can play one note and it has a different relationship to the chords. So for example, if I start with an A, I can go through the whole scale. A down here, this scale here, the A minor. Let's play that together. You can use start with your pinky on the, see it's trying to blur out my headstock. See that? It's like, no, don't blur out the headstock. I can get rid of that. Studio light's not bad though. That kind of looks nice. Portrait thing. It's a little annoying. Okay. But pinky on the 7th fret of the 4th string, that's our A. First finger on the 3rd string, 4th fret, there's our B. C at the, 5th fret, and then D. So D at the 7th fret, and then go up to the 2nd string, and we have 5th fret, we have E, we have 6th fret, we have F, and then G on the 8th fret, and then we go to the A up here. So one little snippet of an A minor scale. Lots of different ways you can play. You could do. You wanted. You didn't really want to move. Oh, nice. Yeah, and who's in charge of Discord? That would be Dennis, and I don't think Dennis is on right now. So I don't know if you you joined yet. He has to approve you. So I think is that right, Holly? Yeah, it is. It was blurring out the top of my headstock, which wasn't good. I mean, the headstock's not an issue, but the frets, that's not good. Okay, so. So with that chord progression, I can play each of those individual notes and listen to the chord. That's the root, and over the D minor, it's the 5th. So those both work. There's A notes in both of the chords. All right. What about the B? 4th fret. That's the beautiful 9th or 2nd. This is the major 6th over the D minor. Eminently jazzy. Thanks, Holly. So, let's see. C is in both of the A minor 7 and a D minor 7 chord. It's the 3rd of the A minor, and it's the 7th of the D minor. Everybody take a celebratory sip because there won't be a quiz on this. Don't worry. This is something that you mess around with over a chord progression, particularly a simple one like this, a 2-chord chord progression. Doesn't get any simpler than that. The D sounds a little mysterious over the A because it wants to go. But over the D, it's the root, so it sounds totally in pocket. But the D wants to go to C or go up to E. And so, you know, the D, to me that D doesn't sound even that strong over the D, to be honest. It sounds a little kind of boring. Kind of reminded me a little bit like Black Magic Woman in A instead of C or D. But there's that Dorian. Because over the D, it sounds very Dorian. So that's kind of like Santana's version of it, so slower. But yeah, he'd play over this chord progression all day long. So then the next note, like A in the scale, we've done A, B, C, D. I'm sorry, E is the fifth of the A minor chord, and it's that beautiful second of the D minor, where it wants to go to that F, but you don't let it. Play that A or play that E right there. Sadie, well, probably because these are tens, and you probably have an acoustic guitar out, right? We haven't. I don't know if we've ever talked about bending. Do I bend on acoustic guitar? Not really. If I had a guitar set up to do that, like I'd have to have acoustic guitar that I set up with tens, and I don't think I've had that done in a long time. I think I had my Taylor set up that way for a little while because I thought it would sound good for pop stuff, and I just never liked it. Or you could put electric strings on acoustic, because the thing about acoustic strings is 4 of the 6 are wound strings. So you have a wound third. On an electric set, only 3 of the strings, the bottom 3 strings are wound. Yeah, so 12s, and then show outside playing on the D minor. Oh, outside playing. Why are you shouting at me, man? I don't care, Bruce. I don't care. I know it probably bugs you. It doesn't bother me. But probably trying to get attention. Outside playing on the D minor, a little outside would be that E natural. Okay, so of the notes in the scale, over the D minor chord, that E natural is a little outside. You know, like I said, it wants to go to the, it's that ninth. Okay, that B also sounds kind of out because it's the 6th. And so that sounds kind of nice, but I wouldn't necessarily call that outside. Now let's look at this real quick. A blues lick in the key of oh, your car acoustic has that. But you could, Sadie, you could put an electric set on an acoustic if you didn't have an electric guitar, if you wanted to be able to bend that 3rd string. But a wound 3rd string is going to be so tight, it's hard to bend. I can bend the top 2 strings on an acoustic set, but it just never occurs to me to do that, really. Maybe a half-step bend, you know, maybe something like that, you know, where you're just doing a little blues lick. Speaking of blues licks, so I'm not sure how to say your name, Hubub Jabub. So I can do the blues licks in A minor sound pretty good over this progression. And it's weird. It still sounds good. The A minor blues still sounds good over the D minor. Even though when we play that flat 5, oh, you're Joe. Okay, thank you, Joe. Good to see you. Even though that flat 5 is technically a D sharp, right? It shouldn't sound good over the D minor chord. So you could say, Joe, that that's a little bit of a way to play outside on the D minor. Now, what if we went to a D minor blues? So I could move this whole thing up here, just so keep it simple. And it could totally work. Watch. But for some reason, because we're in the key of A minor, we know we're going back to A minor. We know we started on A minor. We know the song's probably going to ultimately end on an A minor. That D minor blues it's outside, it's out, but it doesn't sound particularly good. The ironic thing is, to me, and maybe it's just historically it's been done a lot more. Maybe if I spent an hour just playing D minor blues over the D minor chord, it would start to sound better. But to me, the A minor blues sounds better over the D minor chord than the D minor. In other words, we're not accommodating the chords individually as much as we're just accommodating the key in general. The key in general is A minor. And one of the things you can play over A minor is A minor pentatonic. And one of the things you can play over A minor pentatonic, excuse me, is A minor blues. All right, so let me do this again. I don't know if you can hear it change. It's kind of a subtle change to the D minor. I can even make those chords a little hotter on the D minor chord. Let's see. Let me just make the keyboard player play a little harder. Okay, so it's a little stronger. It may be too strong now, but we'll see. Woo, that's a little strong. Yeah, you don't have to follow. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to follow the chord changes. Now, that might be more the case in a bebop thing, but even in a bebop thing, most analysis I see when something's changing really fast, if it's going, where it's like a 2-5 in the key of A, B flat, and then 2-5 in the key of A, and then 2 flat, and whatever. It's like. Even in those situations, you generally wouldn't play over the chords individually. You would bracket them and go, okay, this is the key of G, this is the key of G flat, this is the key of A, this is the key of B flat, whatever. And so you don't have to. That's kind of my point. You can sit there and you can be thinking, because it's an A minor progression, you could be. But I do find that when it goes to that D minor chord, especially now since I made it slightly louder than the A minor chord, it's nice to allude to it, let's say, right? Just then that D sounded good over that. But I'd go right back to A minor blues if I want. And again, you find the two notes that are going to be the sweetest outside notes are going to be the E and the B over the D minor chord. And to me, that's the second and the sixth of the chord. Those are sweet notes. But sometimes the sixth doesn't work. This sixth works because it's a major sixth. If we look at the distance, that B from the D is a major sixth, but the sixth in the key of A minor is a minor sixth. So that F note, the sixth and over the A minor chord is an F. The ninth or the second is nice. So we got the second we can totally use. Sounds great. But that sixth, see the sixth, the naturally occurring sixth over the A minor chord in the key of A minor is not an F sharp, it's an F natural. However, and everybody take a sip because I'm going to change guitars. If I were playing over a gypsy jazz track that went A minor to D minor, I would bring in the A major, the sixth, So I might do something like. There's A minor, D minor, but both those chords have 6 in them. And then when I go to the E minor, I would go. I'm trying to work on my gypsy jazz picking. They do a lot of rest strokes. And then they do triplets like this, down, up, down, down. So you got to do 2 downs in a row. Super hard. But you can use the major 6, the F sharp over A minor if we were to do a kind of a gypsy jazz, but that's not what this is. It's more of a smooth jazz kind of minor vamp, almost in the realm of, okay, take a drink again because I just switched guitars again. It's one of our drinking game rules. Kind of a Santana vibe almost. It's not like, there's nothing about Santana-y about this, but the chord progressions, okay? So, but again, you know, talking about the chords that are on, let me write out the chords that are on this one here, okay, in the key of A minor, like I did with the A Dorian, all right? And let's see, I gotta add another text. There we go. Okay, so in that we would have A minor, then we would have B diminished, and then we would have C, and then D minor, E minor, F, and G. Those would be the triads in the key of A natural minor. All right, and pretty much the same size, a little bit bigger. Sorry, it's been kind of crazy busy over here. So again, so the scale A minor, this is the easy way to play it right here. Bottom string, 5th fret, 5, 7, 8, and then next string 5, 7, 8, and then 5, 7. And the way we make triads out of a scale is you start on a note, pick any note, and then you play, skip a note, and then skip a note. So going A, you see the scale right here, the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. We go A, skip B, go C, and skip D, and go E. A, C, E, that's A minor triad. And then the next one would be B, D, F. And then we would have C, E, G. I'm playing different version up here. And then D, F, A. And then E, G, B. And then F, A, C. And then G, G, B, D. Yeah, A minor, that's right. The scale starts out with, it has an A minor or minor third. So all the minor scales will have a minor third. All, you know, and then if we're going to talk about, and we've talked about modes before, but there's 3 major modes and 3 minor modes. And we're not really going to touch on Phrygian, a chord progression, but I could do, let's see, let me just cut out a part. Let's see. Well, let's see if I can edit this. Maybe I can edit this. I'm gonna get rid of that. Okay, well I don't need that. So I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna get rid of the 7th here. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that 9th ninth, and the 7th. The 9th is okay. Now this goes to F minor, or F7. That's a more kind of out there chord, but I'm going to move this down to E minor. I mean E7. So it's going to be more A minor to E, and I'm going to make these chords start sooner rather than roll it. So you can hear that. This is a second or third major scale, and this would be A harmonic minor. Okay, now my guitar's too loud, but and it's interesting. A over the E7. Let me see. You could use A over the E7. You could use so an A sharp whole tone scale. Whole tone scale is just whole steps, which is 2 frets. So, and the reason he mentioned A sharp was if we did it with A. Start on A, we have A, and there's only 2 whole tone scales, by the way. There's only 2. You've got the one that starts on an A note, for example, or it starts on a B note, or it starts on a C sharp note, or a D sharp, or they're all the same. It's going to be the same scale, no matter what note you start on, of the 6 notes. There's only 6 notes in it, and the other one has 6 notes, and you add 6 plus 6, you get 12. 12 total notes. Okay, so don't worry, take a celebratory sip. There will not be a quiz on this. If any of you are drinking alcohol, I'm sorry. So, but yeah, A, and you can always think of the whole tone scale as kind of being the dream scale. It's like, right? It's like. It's like this, woo, I'm in a dream. And you can just do that just on the 2nd and 3rd string. You just do a major 3rd and just keep moving it up a whole step. And that's kind of a way to play a harmonized whole tone scale. But that wouldn't work because we have a C sharp and a D sharp. It's like, okay, that's weird. But over the E7 chord, you could technically play that scale because it gives you the A flat, which is weird, or A sharp. You think that's weird? No, that's the flat 9. Sorry, the flat 5 of the E7 chord. Which, if we're going to go do a 7th chord, we can often do a flat 5 on it, and it creates kind of an even jazzier sound. Like here's A minor to D7 flat 5. Kind of cool. So that first note is a flat 5. The second note will be the sharp 5. So now you can do the sharp 5 on it too. But it's also the 3rd of the A minor chord. Here's E7 sharp 5. Okay, so we have the A sharp, C, and then a D. D works. It's in both the A minor key, and it's also in it's the 7th of the E7. The E is in both chords. The F sharp, so maybe to me is a little bit of an outlier, and then the G sharp works because it's the 3rd. So let's just listen to this progression. But I wouldn't do that scale over the A minor necessarily. So if I did a the whole tone scale is kind of a funny scale because there's only two possible versions of it. We've never really talked about it before, and so you just kind of can just do this little. You can do it on any string, but you have to move. It's going to be more shape shifty. But that's kind of what you were thinking about. Yeah, for the G and the B string, it's super easy to, and you can find it pretty easy if you visualize this E7 chord or any seventh chord. I can do it in C. You just kind of get it going right there over the A, that A form shape. It's kind of like the diminished licks. Like I see the gypsy jazz guys do these really fast diminished things, and they're really just taking that. They're just kind of taking that tritone shape and moving it up and down, kind of two opposite strings, or two strings, skipped strings. Okay, so the third jam you could do, it would be A minor to E7, and I'm gonna write this out. Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna move this up a little bit, make room for the next one. Same. Okay, and then if I did a new text thing, okay, boom, boom, boom. And then it's going to be A harmonic minor. And then that would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G sharp, A. All right? Interesting, huh? So it's an A minor scale, but with the last note raised up a half step. So scales, diatonic scales are mostly, comprised of minor, seconds, minor seconds, or minor seconds and major seconds. But if you look at that F sharp, or the F to G sharp, I guess you could call that an augmented second or a minor third. So it's not, doesn't kind of fall in the normal rules of the modes, of being just seconds separating all the notes. Okay. And I'm going to E7 just to make it more interesting, but notice that the A minor is not A minor 7. All right? And then I might as well go ahead and add I know it's a mess right now, sorry. Well, you know what? Let me do this. Let me make it smaller, and then I'll add stuff to it. All right, so that's basically the same size. Okay, so that's going to go here. I'm going to edit that, though, and I'm going to add underneath it, I'm going to add the triads. So we have A minor is the first triad, and then the next triad, I think, is B diminished, right? Yep, B diminished. And then we had C augmented. Again, that's going to be a plus sign, all right? Oops, did I did too many spaces. C augmented. All right. That's funny because I can't get the plus sign to be high, but anyway. Then we had D minor, pure D minor. And then we have our E major, just E. And then we had F major, and that's where the fun can happen, right there. And then we're going to have a G sharp diminished. So super interesting in the naturally occurring, notice this, naturally occurring in our harmonic minor scale. Naturally occurring in our harmonic minor scale, we have two diminished chords. I'm sure, I'll make sure I'm getting that right. Yeah. And we have an augmented chord, which we've never had before. No. And then the other thing I want you to notice is we have two major triads a half step apart. E major and F major. Okay, so check this out. I want you to play E major like this. On the 4th string, 3rd string, and 2nd string at the 9th fret, and then just slide it up like you're taking an A chord and then playing A flat. We're going to go E, F. Okay? And then if I go up again to G, it's kind of like... Now that G note isn't technically in there. It's technically G sharp, but if we just do those 3 shapes there, we get this kind of easy to play scale. You can just do the E and the F, and that sounds really exotic. Everything in harmonic minor is going to sound kind of exotic, especially to us Westerners. Cool, you know, it gives you in some ways a pseudo starting place to kind of start to come up with some ideas that, and again, it wouldn't be necessarily how I would play over this progression, but it might be. Again, I remember I didn't go to A minor 7 because I didn't want that G. I could play A minor 7, then that G note would be a little bit more justified. But how would I normally play over this? You know. Find some. Such a fun scale to play over, and kind of what I'm seeing, you know, visualizing is this A minor right here to the E major right here. Okay, so the A minor is top 4 strings, 7, 5, 5, 5, and oh, it's already 10:30. Holy cow! And then 6, 4, 5, 6. Okay, if you can see that, that's kind of the C form. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. You can get that B up there. Get the E down here if you want. You can sweep it. Yay! You're gonna edit a book. Yay! Freelancing. Because you're a professor too, but professors don't get paid enough. It drives me crazy now that like when Jack went to school, my son Jack, when he went to college, you know, an engineering major. He's like in his 4th year or whatever, and he couldn't get the classes he needed. He wanted to graduate, and he couldn't get the classes because they didn't have enough professors. But it was like for every 3 students, they had 1 administrator. And anytime he had to deal with an administrator, they did nothing for him. They wouldn't lift a finger for the kid. He needed this or he needed that. He had medical issues where he needed a parking permit to park on campus. And they said, no, you can't park on campus. It's like he had a note from a doctor saying he had like less than 50% of the lung capacity of a normal person. Still has that. Poor kid. And all those administrators come at the expense of paying professors, particularly adjunct professors, what they should be getting. I mean, if you're a professor at a university, you should be making 6 figures solid. You should be making 120, 150, 180, 200,000 a year. If you're a research professor, research scientist at a university, you should be making deeps. If you're especially if you're bringing copyrights and patents to the university. But I love freelancing. Every time I've ever had a job, I felt like a 9-to-5, or not even a 9-to-5, but just a regular job. I always felt like a caged tiger. I was like all I did was daydream at work, like what I would be doing if I was home. And so that's the beauty of what I do. I kind of get to, my hours are generally I'm working 24/7. My head is working 24/7. That's the downside to being freelance. And you're always like going, okay, I gotta reach out to this person, try to get this gig, whatever. And I'm trying to figure out what the next thing is because the YouTube thing's not paying anything really anymore, and I wasn't ever depending on it, thankfully. But a lot of the music I write for television, the big show that I was doing basically is only airing. It was Street Outlaws and all of the affiliate shows. There were so many affiliates, and it was the most popular show on Discovery. But then the new president of Discovery hated car shows, so he canceled it, and that was a bummer. The shows are still all airing on streaming, but streaming will pay about 5% of what actual airing on. So if it doesn't, the amount of my royalty I get from streaming is probably 10% of what I was getting from broadcast. And so now the thing about the nice thing about streaming, and I'm not ragging on, it's the business models always change. It's progress, for better or worse. One of the things that's for the better is like a show that aired 10 years ago on Discovery that I wrote some music for example, Treetop Cat Rescue. I never saw the show. I just know that they used my music because it showed up on my statements. And, I hadn't seen it on a statement in 7 or 8 years because it wasn't airing anywhere. Well, all of a sudden, Discovery starts Discovery Plus, and now people are watching those shows. And so I'm making, pennies from it, but it's kind of one of those things where once it moves to like streaming, it's kind of evergreen. As long as I don't take it off, and there's not really any reason for them to remove content. But once it's up there, it can earn it can earn me 50 cents. Every one of those shows could earn me 50 cents a quarter. Well, if I'm on 16 episodes of Treetop Cat Rescue, that's $8 a quarter maybe that I'll make from it. And hey, I'll take that. And then you've got other shows, and all the other shows. Ghost Hunters, and I think I'm Hoffman Family Gold is one that's using my music. But the two guys that worked at the company that were using our music or would seek out our music and place it in shows intentionally, they're not there anymore. So now they just have to. The way it is there's a bunch of music in a library, and if it shows up, if they're looking for something and they go, oh, I like this track, they'll drop it in. Then we get a track in a new show. But I don't have anybody there at the company now that's actually seeking out my music for their shows, because the way that reality shows are done is usually what they do is they'll have like 5, 6, 7, well, maybe not. It could be 3 to 6 cameras for a scene. They may have multiple cameras. They download all those camera files, they sync them all up, and boom, they are. And now they got to take those 6 camera shots and turn it into a scene. And what they'll do is they'll grab music that fits the vibe of the scene. It could be rock, it could be blues, it could be country, it could be disco, it could be, EDM, whatever fits the scene. And they drop that music in there. And what they'll often do is, we'll create stems, meaning we'll do a full mix of the song, and then we'll do a mix that's just bass and drums. And then we'll do a mix that's no drums, the full mix without drums. Or we'll do a mix that's full mix, no keys, full mix, no effects like whooshes and stuff like that. Full mix, no guitars. And they have all of those there. So they may drop those all there, and they'll all line up automatically. And then typically what they'll do is they'll kind of go, okay, this scene, I'm going to edit here, I'm going to edit here. I'm going to use the full mix for 3 seconds, and then I'm going to just go to bass and drums for the next 60 seconds because there's dialogue. And the full mix is too busy, and we want people to hear the dialogue. And so that's typical for you always want to, if you're ever thinking about being a music creator, one of the things you often want to do when you're creating music like this is you want to make sure there's a bass and drums mix. That's just simple, maybe in a, and because they want a dialogue, which is going to be in this more mid-range where all the guitars sit. They don't want the guitars. They're going to want to get rid of all that. So that's part of the job is creating music, but then also creating options for the people that are going to use your music. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but Winning is in Everything. Is that from Pawn Stars? Who does music for Pawn Stars? Yeah, I know. I would love to get more. I need to find out. But the problem is, here's the problem. Is it Kevin? For writing for libraries, and I may start doing it, but I don't know. If you're writing for a music library, you could work your butt off to come up with 100 tracks that are just freaking amazing. You send it to them and they go, great, these are awesome, we love them. We'll throw them on our hard drive with the 6 million other tracks. And then the editors are looking for songs. The chance of them finding one of your 100 songs that you slaved over versus the other 6 million is very remote. So generally, the way that, and it's never my connection, it's always somebody else, so I'm writing with them, but they bring me in because they don't play guitar. So it's like somebody else has a connection, and it's like, oh, would you want to do some music for this? I'm like, yeah. And so it's directly with the production company. So I would literally have the production company email me and say, hey, can you do, one of the examples was, can you do something that is reminiscent of the Brady Bunch in Hawaii? That's a very, very specific thing. But it was like, I knew exactly what that was. As soon as they said it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember those episodes. It was a 2-part episode. I remember it. I pulled it up on YouTube. I'm watching, listening to music, and I'm going, oh yeah, flutes. And so I created a template. Okay, I see, I hear an organ in there. I hear bass. I hear flutes. Oh, there's a little bit of, the like that thing, percussion. I hear like stacked flutes and no strings, or maybe a pad at the end, like a string pad at the end on the chord, it'd just be like something like, something like that. But anyway, it's super duper fun. And the music that I created, I knew was getting on a show. The Voodoo Doll. Oh my gosh, Kevin, you totally know the episode. So you're my age, basically. Yeah, so Viber Slap. Thank you, Don. Yep, Oliver. Yeah, that was pre-Oliver. Oliver wasn't in those episodes. But you got, it's hard to watch now because I don't really want to see Marcia in a bikini. I'm like, how old is she there? But it's funny. I had the ironic thing was here. Okay, I've told this story before, I'm sure, but we got a pretty new audience. Of the Bradys, though, of the girls, I was crushing on Jan. like Jan was, and my wife looked so much like Jan. Like my wife looked exactly like Jan in junior high. That we were sitting in a restaurant one time, and it was near our church, and Marcia, not Eve Plum, but Maureen McCormick, I guess went to some event at my church. She's a Christian, and she was walking past the restaurant window, and I looked out the window and I saw her, and I went, "Oh my gosh, I think that was Marcia Brady." And Beth goes, "What?" I said, "Yes, she looked a lot. That woman looked just like Marcia Brady." And like, it's kind of a random thing in Pasadena to have Marcia Brady walk by a window in a restaurant, and we're sitting there, and she saw Beth, and she came into the restaurant, walked right past us, and looked Beth really, and then walked into the bathroom, and then walked past us again and looked at Beth, and then left. And it was Maureen McCormick, and I think she thought that, hey, it's Eve Plum. I haven't seen Eve in years. Oh, and she was gonna go and say hi, and she wasn't sure, and then she was like, okay, that's not Eve, but it looks like Eve. So oh, you're a kid, Kevin. You're a punk. So you watched them in reruns. So did I. I'm sure I saw them when they first aired, but after school, they would be airing on TV and watch all those. But as soon as he said it, I totally knew. Another time they asked for some 60s TV show Batman bumpers. And bumpers are things that they, right? That one had an organ in it too, and it was marimbas. And vibraphones, both. And it was like, vibraphone. And so that was really fun too. And those were like same kind of thing. That kind of, these weird, or, with trumpet. That. I can't remember. I kind of transcribed them, did my version of it, so we wouldn't get any kind of well, they're not gonna. You can't copyright that sound, but I couldn't steal the melodies, so I had to come up with my own melodies. But so that was fun. And again, so for those are the kind of scenarios I'm looking for. I'm not really looking to write for a library. I do know these young guys that young writers that work at this studio, and they have about 15 of them that spend their whole day just creating these albums. And I'm in the process of doing that. I'm kind of in the process of creating my own library because I want to learn some stuff. And then I figure, look, if I have my own library, then if I get some opportunities, I can pitch it. And I won't say what I'm doing in my library right now, the vibe I'm going for, but it's a challenge, and that's another thing. It's actually something that I need to work on. So I'm using it as an opportunity to practice something while at the same time creating content. And then if I happen to get an opportunity to pitch a library for a show or something, I would love to score a show. I mean, like, I would freaking love to score a show like Breaking Bad, where you just create a complete template. And I would love to be able to use real everything, like real amps and real good, mic things out and set, maybe even rent a studio to do, rent a space to turn into a recording studio. Because shows like that would pay enough where I'd be able to have my own space for that rather than in here. But I could do it from here, no problem. Or a sitcom or something that would be freaking amazing to get, like a regular kind of sitcom. Sitcoms are pretty easy because it's mostly just bumpers in, and I think about Seinfeld. And that's just a bass sample that he did on like a DX7, Yamaha DX7. And it totally worked. He tried it. There's an interview with Jonathan Wolf, I think, or Michael Wolf, who he was being interviewed about how he came up with the idea for the music for Seinfeld. And I have a DAW. Yeah, I do everything in the DAW, the digital audio workstation. Oh, what do I use? I use Max, and I use Logic. I love Logic. In fact, I just upgraded to the latest version of Logic, and fortunately, it's not too radically different. I have a lot of plugins and things outside third-party stuff that I use. I have all of Native Instruments stuff. I have a lot of UA stuff. I love Valhalla reverbs. I have all of the Sound Toys stuff. That's all great. I have for strings. I don't get asked a lot to do strings, and fortunately, I'm not scoring. So, I mean, I would love to, but I would probably get a lot more scoring libraries if I. Hey, what's going on? Thoughts on I played the Acoustic Sonic at the NAMM show. It's okay. I mean, I think it sounds pretty good plugged in. You're on Logic too. Yep, Oh, you got the M4 Max. No, I'm on. I have an M1. So is that what you do for a living? About this Mac, mine is 3 years old. I'm just on the M1 Max, which I'm fine. The Studio M1 Max, it seems to work fine. Don, I pretty much, I only have 2 channels input. Initially I didn't get the 8. Here, I can go to this now. I can go to portrait. I didn't get the 8 because initially back in the day, because I didn't want anybody to come over to my house and, hey, can I record drums at your house? Like, I don't have the channels. Hey, can my band come over and record at your house? No, sorry. I didn't want to do any of that. So I basically, I usually, will have at most 2 mics. Generally back in the day, I would have my rig and it would be stereo out. So I would do that. Now I'm, at most, usually I'm just recording 1 track at a time. I got a meeting in a few minutes at noon where we're going to talk about doing multi-mic or 2 mic setup. I may have to upgrade and get an 8 input setup. Right now I'm using I'm using what is it? The RME Babyface Pro is my interface. Recommend the beginner. Yeah, actually, the Acoustic Sonic I think is not a bad guitar for a beginner. It's a weird guitar for a beginner. I started out on a nylon string guitar, which was probably good because it was tender on my fingers. And if it hurt me too much, I probably would have quit guitar. My next guitar was a 12-string, but made by Case. It was awful. But again, 12-string's pretty easy on a finger because when you're pushing the strings down, you're pushing down 2 strings, and it kind of spreads the pain out. But the Fender Acoustic Sonic you can set up with electric strings, so it plays really easy. And then you got something you can technically play in the room. It's not very loud acoustically, but it kind of works that way a little bit. You could mic it even if you wanted to use it acoustically to get a certain sound. Again, I've only played them at the NAMM show. I've never, or at a couple guitar stores, but it's not really jumped off, I kind of like my acoustic guitars to be acoustic guitars and my electric guitars to be electric guitars. I don't really generally like the sound of a plugged-in acoustic. So, yeah. I think Fender's struggled so hard to come up with a good acoustic guitar. They've really, I don't know that they've ever really, really tried because I've never seen a $5,000 Fender acoustic. It's always entry-level acoustics. They've never really given it a solid try. And they probably bought companies that made acoustics. That's probably what they should do, is they should buy something like Loudon or something like that. So they just own an acoustic guitar company. But anytime that happens, usually the quality of instruments goes down when particularly acoustic guitar companies get bought up by bigger companies. I like Gibsons. I've really become a Martin guy. My first acoustic was a Gibson, and my second acoustic was a Taylor, and then I didn't really get a Martin for a few years later, and then now it's my Taylor. My Martin D35 is my main guitar, and I probably have. Let's see, I have a Martin 028, and I have a Martin baritone. I think that's it, right? I think those are the only 3 Martins I have. I have a Taylor 12-string. I have a Taylor anniversary 25th anniversary. That was my cousin's. Actually, that's a nice guitar. I should get that out and use that on something. What season? Yeah, and again, Joseph, with those, it's like they're on the cue sheet for Treetop Cat Rescue, which is basically it's the cue sheet is a word, an Excel spreadsheet that lists all the songs and then all the writers, publishers, and all that stuff in there, and then the exact time, like 1 minute 13 seconds to 1 minute 16 seconds. I mean, so I don't know that you've heard my music. I guarantee if you've heard any of that stuff. But if you've ever watched Discovery Channel or any of the, my music's on so many things. But I don't remember what episodes and it might have just been one song out of 50 songs. So, I could watch the show 10 times and not hear my music. I wouldn't recognize it. That music, we call it music by the pound. I don't know, Kevin. It sounds like Kevin or Don. Let's see. Oh, you're a hobbyist. Oh, iMac can tell. Yeah, I'm still a ways from needing. I used to make iMacs last 8 years, but I'm at 3 years with my studio, and I'm not having any problems. In fact, I just upgraded to the latest operating system. Scared me to death because it was 3. I had to bump up 2 or 3 operating systems, and that I was afraid nothing would work, but everything's working. And I really pretty much use this computer for us live streaming, and for music, and then maybe emailing. And then my laptop is more for editing videos and things like that, for YouTube. And if I'm going to sit in my office and watch Netflix, I won't watch it here. I could. It just never occurs to me to do that. I don't know. I can sit in my little leather chair there and just kind of chill out and throw a show on or something like that. Or if I'm watching YouTube videos or one thing I have been doing in here is going through photos and making sure like all the photos from my phone are up in the right folders for the family, because we got Dropbox that we share with the family, and they can all like go on and download photos for birthday posts and stuff like that. So, and videos and crap like that. So that takes a lot of time to organize that. I don't think they appreciate me doing it, to be honest. T5 Pro, that's actually a great guitar. The T5 Pro, that's actually not a bad. Do they make them anymore? Let's see. I like that I can play it softly unplugged and then plug it in. It can be loud as needed. I love how easy it is to play. All of Taylor's are really generally. Bob Taylor told me personally, like they start with the neck, and the neck. Like they design the guitar from the neck out, and so they want everything to be playable. And if it's easier to play, you're going to sound better. If you're fighting the guitar, that becomes obvious. As a beginner, I like having basic acoustic electric. Mine is an Ibanez, not expensive but nice to play. Yeah. The M1 is an excellent computer. Okay, that's good. Should last you a while. The Intel mic was just not handling. Okay, so yeah, I have the Apple chip. I mean, it'll be cool. I should probably, well, we'll see after this meeting today. I might have to upgrade, not the computer, but may have to get a new interface and some more mic pre's, because I only have 2 mic pre's. Actually, I have 3, but Alex has one of mine, and I think he uses it all the time, so I don't think I'm going to ask for it back. But for mic pre's, I've got for my electric, I'm going into an API 512 classic. I think 512C classic. No tone control, no EQ, no compression, nothing. A volume knob. That's it. And that goes right into, because the problem with compressors and stuff like that, the 500 series, the rack mount compressors and everything, is you can't uncompress something. So I'm always afraid to compress something, and almost everything I do gets sent to a good engineer. So they almost always ask me if it's acoustic or whatever, like turn off all the plugins and just send me the raw file. Electric stuff, bass they might request that, but electric stuff I'm getting the tones in box, so they want the tones. So that I don't. Sometimes I have one composer that always asks for the DI from the electric, which just basically means the dry signal, so he can reamp it. Because I think he spends a lot of money on plugins and wants to use them. So. But yeah, and then the other one is basically a Neve 1073, but it's actually the Brett Averill design, or Brett Averill Electronics, which is almost better than the real thing. So he got it. Brett Averill got his start taking old giant mixing boards and taking all the parts out and selling them individually. Like he would buy these, 24 channel Neve, and then he would take them all out individually and package them and sell them individually. So he may pay $50,000 for 24 tracks, but he might ultimately sell it for $250,000 in parts. It's what hedge funds do. Tale as old as time. So, yeah, it's funny. I remember. Do you remember the restaurant Boston Markets? Boston Markets. We kind of liked it. It was like home cooked food. It was really kind of cool. It was fast but home cooked food. Like, great macaroni and cheese, and you could get like mac and cheese with meatloaf. They had really good meatloaf. You get meatloaf and potatoes. You get a turkey dinner. Boston Markets, a really good restaurant. Well, they were going bankrupt. They weren't succeeding for whatever reason. But one of the things they did was every building they had, all the shops they had, they owned the buildings. So McDonald's bought them, and they bought the corporation, I think, for 25 cents on the dollar of the value of the properties alone. And McDonald's kept running them. I think is there Boston Market still? I haven't seen one in years, but you could still go. It says near Boston Market near me. Let's see what we got. Oh, location closed, location closed, location closed. Yeah, so they're gone. Yeah, they're all gone. But there were 5 of them here recently. I wonder when they closed. But McDonald's they own the land. So it's like they could either build a McDonald's there if they wanted to, or they could sell it, or they could build something else that they're doing. But that's happened a lot. Yes, the chicken carvers. Yeah, it's like, damn it. It was a good restaurant. It wasn't ridiculous expensive. Oh, Redskin Garage. Oh, yeah. Oh, that is Redskin Garage, I guess. Yeah. Yep. And then, and I own stock in McDonald's. So it actually, I was aware of all this going down because I kind of, I sold McDonald's. I sold all of McDonald's stock to buy the house. I had to sell. We'd been putting money in the stock market since I was 17. And so that was what we used for our down payment on the house. Was I sold McDonald's, Pfizer, Intel, and Walmart, and then a couple other companies, and all of that, I had to pay a big giant capital gains tax, which hurt. And then I had all that cash sitting in my account, which stunk. Okay, this was a little advice if you got kids getting to college age: don't have cash. Do not have cash. Oh shoot. Let me see if I can. Okay, there we go. Yeah. If you have cash, that you can't get Pell Grant. So we got zero help with college because we had cash that we were going to use for a down payment on a house, but we couldn't find a house or get approved for a loan for the rest of the money. So we're sitting on all this cash. It was, I'm not going to tell you how much, but for me, it was a lot of money. And when you fill out for the all the grants and stuff like that for the scholarships, they would not. And we were going up against people that were 10 times richer than us, and they would get the grants because they didn't have cash. They had but they had a $5 million mansion, and it's like, well, why are they getting all these scholarships and we can't get one? Well, you clearly can pay for your kids' college. I'm like, no, that's our down payment for our house. It was the most frustrating thing. RG. Oh, you're stuck like that now, Lars. That's just so you know, if you have kids that are coming up on college age, somehow make sure that you don't have cash sitting around. You're cash poor at the time you're applying for all the. And then the other thing the other frustrating thing I had to do to qualify for the loan was I had to do 2 years of not taking any deductions so that my income was higher. And then so I could qualify. Because you're not qualifying for the house price, you're qualifying for the payment. So the bank had to be able to say, oh, if you're making this much, you can afford this much payment every month. And so then, but my Chase banker that got me the loan, he said, don't worry about it. He goes, oh, yeah, I know, but I'm paying these giant tax bills because I'm not writing off any of my expenses. It's like, imagine having a business and not writing off any of the costs. That's what I was doing. It was like, oh, it was giant bills. You know, I was just writing these checks I just hated. He goes, don't worry about it. After you get the loan and you're in your house, you go back to the IRS and refile and get some of that money back. And sure enough, that's what I did. And I've told this story before, but I had to go meet with the IRS agent. That was scary. It turned out great, but I had to meet with the agent. Yeah, the Big Baby's a great guitar. I bought Alex, his first guitar was a Baby. He got it on Christmas morning. I think he was 7. And when he came out, Alex is the most grateful kid in the history of the world. When he came, you know, the kids come out in the morning in the Christmas tree. He didn't see the guitar. He saw like the guitar stand and the strap. And he was like, Dad, thanks for the, or thanks for the new strap. You know, he was so excited about the strap. I said, dude, look to the right. He practically had a heart attack. It was like a 7-year-old kid having a heart attack. When he saw the guitar, he couldn't believe it. He was so grateful for a $10 strap. And then he saw like this $300 Baby Taylor. He was like, what? You know, he was so jazzed. We were just recounting too. Oh man. I gotta write this down so we remember. But Alex, when he was like 3, and Beth asked him, "What do you want to be for Halloween?" And he said, "I want to be Dad for Halloween." I mean, that's just like, oh my gosh, right? That's like he goes, he wanted to be me for Halloween. So Beth drew on a goatee, because at the time I had a goatee and a ponytail. So she put on a ponytail. He wore a hat so he could hold the ponytail on and a goatee. And he went door to door with a little ukulele, and he had painted on glasses. And I was like, she said this at the time. I said, she goes, oh, Alex wanted to be you for Halloween. And I went, you're kidding. And she goes, yeah, it was the scariest thing he could think of. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, Redskin Garage has its own channel. Oh, that's awesome. Let me check it out. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Tab, YouTube. See if I can find it this way. Redskin Garage. Yeah, there you are. Okay. Hold on. Awesome. Is that you playing on that? Created playlists. Okay. So you, let's see, what do you tend to do videos on? I like the dripping. Welcome to Redskin Garage. All right, I'll check it out. Oh, you kind of just starting it. So gun reviews, stuff like that. The font's hilarious, the dripping font. Dodge it or ram it. Big John's Dodge it. Okay. Looks like you're creating your own little channel. Are you interested in like creating a reality TV series or something like that? Is that kind of what you're thinking? Everybody's starting to leave now because I put the guitar down. And I do need to go. I've got a meeting here in a few minutes, so yeah, I don't even know what my channel's called. Is it Pro Guitar Secrets or is it Tom Strahle? I don't know. Anyway, okay. I need to go. We've been here for a couple hours. hopefully this was interesting. We'll probably talk more about these specific examples, the 3 different minor scales. And we can also talk about soloing in the 3 different major scales. I didn't do Phrygian because I feel like harmonic minor is far more common, particularly in the pop context. And the G note you could add to that harmonic minor because a very common chord progression would be A minor, G, F, E major. And it had, obviously, the G would be in there too. So, and it might be one of those situations where you play in A minor all the way down till you get to the E, and then you would go to A harmonic minor because you wouldn't necessarily want to play a G sharp over the G chord. So, anyway, we'll talk more about that. Okay, very cool. I'll subscribe. Oh, it's AI music. Okay. Nice. Well, that's fun. Well, I could send you a track garage to use on your channel. I think the good thing is that Congress passed a law that AI music cannot generate revenue. So what was happening with Spotify was creating all these playlists with AI music, and they were collecting the royalties, basically paying themselves so they wouldn't have to pay other people. So they're taking spins away from people that were trying to make a living with streaming. And Congress came along and said, nope. I mean, you can, probably every other country in the world pays royalties on that. I think not. I think a lot of countries are saying, no, if it's AI music, first off, you have to say it's AI music. Secondly, if it's AI, if it's AI written, you can't claim a copyright on it. So I think that's a really good thing. So yeah, let me listen to your theme and maybe I'll come up with something better and I can send it to you. And then you can use it. And then if I register it, I can register it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to pay for anything. But I can send it to my publisher and I can register it with BMI and send it to my publisher, I think. And then people go to if your channel becomes really popular, then it could generate pennies for me. So I get some money from YouTube, mostly from like the Bieber songs. I'll have to look at I got my BMI statement. I have to look at it. I haven't gone through it yet. But anyway, all right. God bless you all. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching, and we'll pick this up next. And today, happy Memorial Day! By the way, I'm going to go put my flag up right now because you put your flag up on Memorial Day, take it down Labor Day, right? So I'm going to go put it up right now, and then I think next Monday's good. If any Monday wasn't going to be good, it was today. And I thought we were going to have all the kids over, but Alex and Avriel are in Paris. God bless them, having a great time. They got a great apartment in the 3rd arrondissement. And Jack and Sawyer, I think, are just staying down in Redondo, hanging out down there because they got lots of stuff to do. So it's fine. It's just Beth and I today. Beth is out. She's a thrift store maniac, so she's out thrifting right now. Yeah, that's it. So, all right, we will talk. I will talk to you all next Monday, hopefully. You hit the bell. Oh, awesome. Okay. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.